Hello and welcome to the second Blu-ray update for July of 2021. This is kind of the more general Blu-ray update, just a mix of bits and bobs. So we've got Arrow coming up next, I think, and then the premium collection. So yeah, I think that's at least, yeah, I'm just trying to figure this all out in my head. So just on my birthday one. Now this is more of a general one that I've, stuff I've bought over the past couple of months. Let's start with the Eureka Masters of Cinema. Kick it off with a bang. We've got some of the Masters of Cinema stuff, some steelbooks, 4Ks, random assortments of things, and then a film series, and 88 films as well. There's all sorts of stuff in this. So, kicking things off with spy numbers 247, 248, and 249. We have The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. We have PTU, and we have The Hands of Orlac. So I'm fairly unfamiliar with all of these. As you know, I collect all of these editions from Eureka, and I guess once we get to the Universal Silence box set, it's not really a box set, but the collection of silent films from Universal, I will have all 250 spy numbers. So this is a Cold War movie starring Richard Burton. And Claire Bloom as well. I love Claire Bloom. I've seen her in like maybe 2 films total, like one from the 50s, one from 2010, but I absolutely love Claire Bloom in Chaplin's Limelight. That's Chaplin's best film as far as I'm concerned. So this is a Cold War thriller, and Richard Burton, Welsh actor. I didn't even know that he was a Welsh actor until I saw him in, what was it called? Look Back in Anger, an interesting early British film that I quite enjoyed. But yeah, looking forward to watching this at some point. As always, there really isn't, I can't think of, maybe there's a couple in the collection that I've thought I'm not really that interested in that. And it is completely, admittedly, it's gone in because it's in the collection. But for the most part, everything they're announcing, this year, even last year, is just things that I'm kind of interested in. So spy number 248 is a Johnny To film, PTU, which I believe stands for something. It's like a police tactical unit squad. This is from 2003, and I know nothing about it. And I think I've only seen one of his films. So there's 3, I think, in the Eureka Masters of Cinema collection. I think Mad Detective obviously is one of the first spy numbers, which is a great film. I think I've seen that twice now. And then Throwdown, which I've heard very good things about, but haven't checked it out yet, as you might be surprised to hear. A lot of these don't have like a huge amount of special features. There's a lot of interviews on this one, a lot of archival interviews, and I should look on The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, which was from 1965. There's an Adrian Martin commentary and a video essay, so a couple of things on there. And then finally The Hands of Orlac, which goes back to, I'm loving how Eureka are really diving back into silent cinema, because it's what really got me into them in the first place. So I'm just loving all of these new silent releases. So this reunites the star and director of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So we have Conrad Veidt. Was Conrad Veidt in? I didn't realize that was him in Caligari. Was that him in Caligari? I guess that was, right? Yeah. Man, that's a real that shows you how memory works, because I did a review of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari about 4 years ago, and I think that's one of my best reviews. Like I listened to the audio commentary on that on the Blu-ray, the MoC Blu-ray. It's a fantastic commentary. There's a great story behind the guys who wrote that film. So I think I did a really good review of that, and I can't remember if it was Conrad Veidt who was the the main kind of the not Dr. Caligari, but the was it the somnambulist? It's a weird word that I can never quite get my tongue around. Right, so yeah, a concert pianist whose hands are amputated after a train crash and replaced with the hands of an executed murderer. I really like the artwork on that one. So this has audio commentary with some critics, a couple of video essays, an alternate presentation of the film, which is in standard definition, unfortunately, but it's one of the ones that features alternate takes of certain scenes. I'm assuming that's when they would have 2 cameras set up, so like to export around the world. I'm assuming it doesn't say it's the export version, just an alternate presentation, so it might just be alternate takes. But usually, the way you get another cut of a silent film where there's different takes and different shots is when they put 2 cameras right next to each other and just film it twice. So they've got 2 different prints that they can edit together and show around the world. And there is a version comparison featurette, which is pretty cool. and obviously directed by Robert Wiener. I think that's how you say it. Not too sure. And from 1924. Love getting some more silent films into the collection. Now, where do I go? Few steelbooks here. Well, I don't know where to go with this. I'll tell you what, I'll show you this one first. This is actually a really nice steelbook that I wasn't expecting to be as nice as it was. And I kind of wish that all of the other Marvel steelbooks were kind of like this. Not in terms of the lenticular front, which I'm about to show you. But this is Spider-Man Far From Home. That's really cool. I mean, I don't love the effect. I mean, it's a nice lenticular. But I love that you can take it off and you can just have the artwork, and then Spider-Man is also embossed there, which is really cool. And I always love these borders, like the debossed borders around everything. Really, really nice. But what's great about this particular steelbook is the wraparound artwork, which is just gorgeous. Similar kind of really nice colorful artwork on the Spider-Man Homecoming steelbook. And I think I might have turned a page on the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe collecting. I obviously collect, well, not obviously, but maybe I've been following my channel for a while, but I have collected every film in the MCU with the exception of Captain Marvel, because I think Brie Larson is just a man-hater, and I don't want to support her films. And I'm completely joking about that, but I really like Captain Marvel. I'm waiting for that steelbook to drop down in price a little bit, but I want to get it. And once I do, once Captain Marvel is in there, I think I'm done. I think I'm just going to kind of cap it off with the third phase, because to me, the TV shows like Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yes, even though I didn't like that very much, but WandaVision, I consider those like entries into the MCU as much as the movies. And the kind of the lines are being blurred between movie and television now in terms of the quality, which is great. But then they've come out and said they're not going to release those on physical media, so there would be gaps in my Phase 4 collection, and I would love to have WandaVision on Blu-ray. That would be great, but they're not going to do it. And I just think that maybe just having that Infinity Saga, I might do a whole separate video on that, because there's a lot I have to say about the MCU, the steelbooks I have, potential 4K releases, them all being on Disney Plus now, and the fact that I'll probably have Disney Plus forever. There's a lot to talk about. I might make a separate video about that. But Spider-Man Far From Home, really like that one. Not my favorite, but it's a good time. I don't know where to go, because it's like I'm trying to make it a bit interesting in terms of the variety. I'll go with this one. This is a pure... is it a triple dip? Yes, it is a triple dip. Of course it is. So I have it at hand, actually. So this is the steelbook for Porco Rosso. One of my all-time favorite films, and this is a really nice steelbook. And I ummed and ahed about this for ages, and I ultimately decided not to get it, but it went down to like £10. I thought, I gotta get it. Now, the thing is, do I need this? No, I don't, because I already have the film twice. I have 2 different copies of this on Blu-ray. And there was a reason for that. There was actually a kind of practical. You might think it's a bit silly, but there was a reason that I have 2 versions of Porco Rosso. So this is the Japanese Blu-ray, which is one of my most prized pieces of my collection. I absolutely love this. And this is the best version, like the best transfer, the best quality you're going to get on Blu-ray. It has the English dub that I love. It has Japanese version, English subtitles. It's it's completely worldwide friendly. Even has the French version on there, which Miyazaki is a big fan of. But do I need anything more than this? I guess not. But what I wanted was the extras from the UK release, which I believe is actually only 1 extra. Oh no, there's 2. So there's an interview with Toshio Suzuki, and then Behind the Microphone, which is like the English cast, just talking about making the dub. And it's like a 10-minute featurette you can watch on YouTube, but I wanted to have it on disc. So there was a practical reason for that. There's just really no practical reason for it, but it's one of my favorite films, and I kind of collect things that are related to this. So I have a few film strips. I have the Laserdisc release of this. I have a promotional CD tying into Porco Rosso. So I kind of collect memorabilia around the film, and I love Blu-rays, and that's kind of... And I think if I just get the Wind Rises steelbook, I'll have all of the Miyazaki Ghibli steelbooks, which would be nice to have. So I just couldn't resist the nice steelbook at a discount price. So we got some 4K stuff. I'll leave that to the side for a second and show you my 88 Films sale pickups. So 88 Films had an offer. Spend over £30 and get 30% off, which is a fairly big saving. And there was two that I had my eye on. They were both $14.99. And so it came to, what, £29 and 98 pence. So it didn't qualify for the offer. So I thought, what else can I throw in there? And there was certain things I just didn't want them enough. I almost went for like, it was some like, I don't know what it was called. It was one of the Shaw Brothers releases, something like this erotic ghost story or something. I know that there's a different one called erotic ghost story, but it was something of that vein. And I almost went for it, but I just thought, I'm not interested in this. So what did I do? I bought an even cheaper one that I'm still not interested in. So I bought a third Blu-ray, which is $2.99. I have no interest in it whatsoever, but in adding that to the order, I then saved so much money on the other two. So I'm probably just going to sell it or something like that. But now I almost feel like it's a challenge. I should watch it and see if it's any good. But a friend of mine's told me it's pretty shit. Anyway, I'll show you the two that I wanted and got. Jet Li in The Master, and a John Woo film, Heroes Shed No Tears. Saw the trailers for this one. It looked very gritty and raw, and I do love John Woo, and he kind of hit and miss for me. Like, you look at some of his earlier films, which I don't find that entertaining or enjoyable. Some of his more later films, there's things that I enjoy, and then there's like Hard Boiled, which is just an amazing film, and this is around the time that he made Hard Boiled, so I'm kind of intrigued to see if it kind of holds up to that kind of standard when it comes to action. This is from a new 2K remaster. Love the artwork on this, just a beautiful, slipcover and piece of art for this. And there's an international cut, new audio commentary. They've put a fair amount of effort into this, and a tale of two cuts, which goes through the two different versions of the film. But that's one it caught my eye, and I thought, with the sale price, I'll definitely go in for this, because with the 30% off, both of these ended up costing about £11, I think, which is a really good price for editions like this that have so much love and care poured into them. So this one is also a 2K remaster, The Master. And I watched kind of a clip of this on YouTube, and I thought, yeah, I want to see this. Jet Li's a guy who I really enjoy, but I've seen hardly anything from. I think it's like his more, mainstream stuff that I've seen from like the 2000s onwards, but then also Once Upon a Time in China, which I loved. That's just such a great film. And I was kind of disappointed with that film because he got injured in it, and a lot of the stuff is actually not him. So I thought I would check out one, and it's the same director, Choi Hark, I believe is how you say his name. So it's the same director as that film, which I didn't even realize until just now. But I really like the look of the trailer and the fight scenes, and I love these. These are films that so many people on the Blu-ray.com forums have kind of grown up with and loved, and I have no kind of knowledge of them whatsoever, but getting to see them in this kind of quality is really it's amazing. It really is. And, for fans of this stuff, it's great, and for someone like me who's becoming a fan, I think it's really cool. Now, the third one is Sean Connery in Cuba. Now, I will throw my hands up and say, when this arrived in a slipcover, I thought, ooh... It's like, I threw this in for $2.99, no interest in it whatsoever. So this is like an all-star cast. Sean Connery and Brooke Adams and Chris Sarandon. Yeah, all-star cast. Oh, Denholm Elliott is in this. I like Denholm Elliott. That's interesting. This is directed by Richard Lester. The name rings a bell. But hey, let me know if you've seen this, if you think it's worth watching. I almost feel like I stubbornly want to see it just to see. But, I mean, I think it's like a 2-hour movie, and I don't know, it just doesn't... Part heaven, part hell, pure Havana? Wow, okay. But yeah, I mean, this I have really no interest in whatsoever. Ooh. This looks good. I might watch this. It's got a slipcover. So, next we have some 4K titles. First one is a steelbook. I really like the look of this, and it dropped in price on Amazon to around this. I think it was even cheaper maybe than the regular edition, or a couple of pounds more perhaps, I don't know. The difference was negligible as far as I'm concerned. I've heard so much about this film. It's in the book of 1001 movies you must see before you die. And this is loaded with new special features. Apparently the transfer is fantastic. It is Don't Look Now. And it's a really nice steelbook. Haven't opened it yet, but I've seen pictures of the whole wraparound image, and it's meant to be a very unsettling film. I'm a big fan of the podcast Films to Be Buried With, and the host, Brett Goldstein, I think this is his favorite film, or one of. So he has very high praise for it. And I think I've heard some of the spoilers surrounding this, but it's one that I definitely need to see. And it feels very weighty. There must be like a booklet in it or something. So, yeah. And there's an interview with Danny Boyle for some reason. I wonder what that is linked to. Maybe he's just a big fan of the film. So, there we go. This is a really weird thing. I felt so sure that Donald Sutherland died recently. And then I saw something which indicated that he hadn't. And now I'm almost wondering if he has again. And I've just completely... It was like a weird kind of Mandela effect thing. Where it's just like... Did that happen? Did it not? Did I think it was someone else? Anyway, so... you let me know if Donald Sutherland is still alive and kicking or not. Because I felt sure that he wasn't. And then I'm fairly sure that I saw something recently where I was like, oh, I thought he was... No? Okay then. Anyway, moving swiftly on. The two that I showed from Ryan Chataway, he sent me these a few weeks ago. This was kind of like two of my favorite films of all time. In 4K, we got the Last Action Hero Steelbook there. I've kind of done a separate video unboxing this, but I have watched this now. I might do a separate video for this, because I have a fair amount of things to say. Well, not a huge amount to say. Maybe I should wait until I've seen the audio commentary, or listen to the audio commentary as well, but... Seeing some of the deleted scenes on this was really, really cool, especially the restored in 4K. I mean, there's no sound, mixing done on it. You can tell some of it is still the on-set audio. There's a really funny scene where a bunch of kids come up to Jack Slater in New York at near the end of the film, and they think he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's the new movie's coming out," and they're like, "I loved you in Total Recall." And Jack Slater's turning to Danny, the kid, and saying, "What was that? Secret agent in space." He's like, "Okay." And then someone's like, "I loved you in Predator," and he's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Alien in a jungle." and Schwarzenegger's like, "Man, that sounds terrible." And Danny's like, "Well, it got a sequel." Don't worry, you weren't in it. And of course, the joke there, kind of the in joke there, is that of course the director of Predator is the same as Last Action Hero. Why is his name escaping me? The name of the director is John McTiernan. So I loved watching the film in 4K. I think the transfer on the original Blu-ray is pretty damn good, so it wasn't a huge quantum leap, but it was really fun to watch it in 4K. I have a number of stacked discs inside this case, unfortunately. I'm still really bad at doing that. I should stop doing it. Let's just put this one Blu-ray to the side and show you the case that I showed in that previous video, and it is Spaceballs, the 4K Blu-ray, and I'll reuse the same joke again. The kids love this one. Watched this on my birthday. This is my birthday viewing film, and I have to say, with all honesty, it's not that it's aged badly, but it didn't even wear thin, but it wasn't as funny as it's always been. And I think it's just because I've relived this movie in so many of the moments and lines inside my head for the past 20 years. There's still bits that crack me up. I still think it's a brilliant film. But I definitely was aware of, I've seen this way too much. But it was really, the quality was fantastic. I loved seeing it in 4K, and so glad I have it and own it. And it's actually reversible artwork, which I didn't realize when I first bought it, but I like this one. But I think the other one is just the RV, which is kind of like the classic poster. But yeah, seeing it in 4K was really fun. But I have to be completely honest, there was a little part of me that was thinking, but then there was another reason why I wasn't as in kind of a funny mood. So I'm sure that'll change over time. It's just one of those things. But man, it's so many funny moments in that film that I think are just okay, I'll tell you what it was that kind of threw me at the beginning. It's like, oh god, is this film not funny anymore? It was when President Scrooge, Mel Brooks at the beginning, he asked to be beamed, or they asked, do you want to be beamed into the next room that you're going to kind of come into? There was some issue that they're kind of dealing with. Should we beam you in? And he's like, well, shit, it works on Star Trek. So he gets in, they beam him into the other part of the building, and he's on backwards. And he looks down at his bum, and he's like, why didn't anyone tell me my ass was this big? And it just wasn't that funny, I was like, and then, but the kind of the the button to the gag is that they beam him back and his body's back in the right place. And she's like, well, beam me back right away, sir. And he's like, no, no more beaming. I'll walk. And he just opens the door and it's literally the next room, which is hilarious. Like, I love the payoff to that gag, but it was wearing a bit thin before we got to the payoff. Just one of those things. And finally, the last 4K is one that I wanted to get with Spaceballs, but it was out of stock. Came back into stock and was up to be ordered on Amazon UK through the global store. I'd never used this before, but it was free shipping. And I thought, this sounds too good to be true. And it wasn't. It was true, and it was too good. It was I think about $22, something like that. And it's one of the greatest films ever made in 4K. Also from Kino Lorber, like Spaceballs, we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's 4K restoration on this, on 4K Blu-ray. It seems like there's not as many extras on the back as was listed in the kind of the press release for these. But I know that there's two versions of the film. They were going to present both versions in 4K, but then they didn't. It doesn't really say on the back here. It's the 162-minute cut either way, but this is just one of the best films ever made. I'm not really going to talk about it too much because I could do a whole separate video. I probably will at some point. It's just the last 20 minutes of the film, or at least, like, I would say, the two set-piece sequences. Not that the first part is even a set-piece, but Tuco running into the graveyard at the end and the playing of the Ecstasy of Gold, one of the great scenes, of all time. Then you have the showdown between all three of them at the end in the graveyard, one of the great kind of scenes of all time. The music, the editing, one of the best uses of editing in film history, in my opinion, though obviously film history to me is limited to the few thousand films I've watched in my life. So, people tend to say it's one of the greatest things of film history, or, in all of cinema. And maybe those people have seen, tens of thousands of films, but I haven't. So, but from everything I've seen, the use of editing in that final showdown is just incredible. Haven't watched that one yet. It's a hefty one to watch, 3 hours long, but I look forward to sitting down and checking it out. And hopefully the color is good, because there was a lot of controversy with the new remaster done by the studio, which is MGM, I believe. And then Kino released it on standard Blu-ray a couple of years ago, and there was still an issue, or maybe there wasn't, I don't know. But there's been a lot of contention about the color grading and the revisionist color grading on these Blu-rays. So next up, we just, I've kind of got all the good stuff out of the way, so maybe you just stop watching the video. These three things were part of an Amazon price drop. Ooh, dirty Amazon price drop. And I think it was kind of a glitch, and there was all sorts of stuff going out. There was a couple of 4Ks that went for crazy money, and I managed to get 3 of them in. And they're kind of, there's 3 very different films that I went for 3 very different reasons, and they're both very, very cheap. All 3 of them were very, very cheap. The first one, I think it was like £2 or something. THX 1138. The George Lucas director's cut. Fine, but just give us the original, because this has like new CGI special effects. This is his first movie that was expanded from a short film he made of the same name, and this came out in the early 70s, or 1970, in fact. Okay. There's a commentary with George Lucas and Walter Murch. There's quite a lot. There's 2 documentaries and vintage production featurettes, trailers, but it is the one and only George Lucas director's cut that he did. I'm not sure when, but it's like early CGI additions and alterations. So, but I love George Lucas, and and it's got a really interesting. You got Donald Pleasance and Robert Duvall in an early film directed by George Lucas. But it's, I've never seen it. I want to just get the original version and watch it first, because I feel like I need to see that one before I see the George Lucas Super Duper version. The next one, which was like £5, and for a Shaw Brothers 88 films release, that's fairly decent, and it's Inframan. Now, I think this is actually called the Super Inframan or something like that. I've seen it listed online as that. I'm not sure, maybe I'm incorrect on that. There's no real extras to speak of. There's just stills gallery and reversible artwork, but this was released in 1975, and I don't know, I kind of enjoy these schlocky kind of, kind of effects movies from, from Asian countries. There's just, like, I've been enjoying some of the Japanese kaiju movies, and this one obviously from the Shaw Brothers studio. it's kind of a, I would say kind of probably a distant cousin to those kinds of films. I'm assuming based on the artwork and some of the images I have seen from the film. I'm just intrigued to see how this one stacks up to some of the Japanese kind of kaiju movies, and it might not be exactly like that. It might be the flavor might be a little bit different. I mean, we can just read it on the back. A tale of futuristic heroism and spandex costumes that could only have been dreamed up during the golden age of Hong Kong cinema. So, a costumed Chinese patriot takes the fight to a city-destroying mega villain. It's pretty much a kaiju movie. So, that's one I will definitely check out. Well, I'm going to check out all of these at some point, but that some point might be, 20 years in the future. I just kind of cracked myself up buying this one. This was about £2 again as well. I've never heard of this film before. Tequila Sunrise. I liked the title, and I bought it. Well, that's partly true. I like the title. It's a cool title. And then I looked at the front of the Blu-ray on kind of Amazon, and it said Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and most importantly, Kurt Russell. Done. Kurt Russell is one of my favorite actors ever, and it just the look of it. It just looks fun and 80s. It probably might be 1988, the year of my birth. So, I didn't even know Raul Julia is in this. Holy shit, what a cast. What a fucking cast. Damn. I really like Mel Gibson, personal life aside. Michelle Pfeiffer, I've always loved. Kurt Russell, one of my favorite actors. Raul Julia. Holy shit, I should watch this soon. But yeah, that was just a pure, never heard of that, but the people involved are awesome, and I really, really like the title. This is another one where the cast is awesome. This is kind of, you can call it an independent release. But this is, I don't know if this is the first instance of it ever, maybe not, but this is actually a Blu-ray that was released by a film podcast. The film is Too Many Secrets. Wait, I got that wrong. The film is Sneakers. There was something unusual about the way he walked, much more vertical than usual. I also noticed that he wore sneakers for sneaking. I've never heard of this film. I have spoken to people who think that it's great and it's one of their favorite films of the 90s. And it was released by the Film Stories podcast, a very good podcast run by Simon Brew. He's a big fan of the film, and so they made this happen. It has come out on Blu-ray before, but this has newly commissioned special features. It's got the kind of Film Stories banner at the top there. But the cast, what the hell? We got Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Ben Kingsley, River Phoenix, Sidney Poitier. It's just a stacked cast. And I'd never heard of it before. And again, people tell me that it's a really enjoyable film. So I decided to support this independent release. It was you can only order it from their website. And I think it's in conjunction with Pulmeria Pictures, I want to say. I don't know if their logo is on the back there somewhere. But they've commissioned 2 new audio commentaries, the original audio commentary with the director. And they've also done a meaty 40-minute new interview with the director of the film. Done over Zoom, as is kind of the nature of things these days. But, here we go, Plumeria, sorry. So, yeah, Plumeria Pictures and Film Stories present Sneakers. Really looking forward to checking this one out. I've heard that the transfer is pretty dated, but it's kind of it's an independent release. It's not like they're a big label and they're not going to be able to afford a new scan or anything. But they've done some cool extras and stuff, and I wanted to support the release, and secondly, just see what the film was all about. Finally, we have 4 Blu-rays from the same franchise. This happened very randomly and serendipitously. I went to a charity shop maybe a few months ago now, actually, and I saw 2 films from a franchise that I quite like. I thought, I don't have those, and I have avoided picking those up for a very long time for a very specific reason, but this will be a good time to start, and they are both £1 each. So I got Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. These are the original releases from Disney. Still got the 2 stickers on them. This one has a nice slipcover, which is ropey shape, but it's still there. And these are the meaty, 2-disc versions that have the film itself and then a whole extra Blu-ray dedicated to extras. Now, you can fairly cheaply get the 4-movie box set, or maybe even a 5-movie box set by this point. You get all four films if you want, and it's like maybe £10-12, something like that. But they're single disc releases, and I've always wanted to get all the extras because they do a lot of extras for these films, and I love extras, so this is a perfect opportunity to pick them up, and you get all of this, like 7 hours of bonus features on Dead Man's Chest, and that's one that I think, well, I hope would be really interesting to look at the special features because of the incredible visual effects work on Davy Jones. And then at World's End we have, it usually says in the back, but there's loads of stuff on this. There's just tons of special features on both. They didn't have the first film, and Connie was like, I really want to watch these. So I didn't have the first film, so we watched Curse of the Black Pearl on Disney Plus, which looked fairly good. But then I thought, nah, it's an itch I need to scratch. So I went online and I found the original version of Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. So this one has both of the discs, and there's actually 3 discs, including the DVD, but this has the second Blu-ray of special features included as well. And, me being me, have I watched any of these special features since I bought all 3 of them? Have I? Fuck. But I have them now. And it kind of bugs me that I have only one slipcover for the trilogy. And just brief thoughts. This one's awesome. Just a great adventure film. Dead Man's Chest is really good. There's some great stuff in that. The Davy Jones character is one of the best CGI creations. It holds up so well, even today, like 15 years later. It's insane. And there's some really great set pieces in this one. I quite like it. Compared to the second one, it's maybe not as concise and classic. This is a classic feeling to the first one now at this point. At World's End, I really want to give it another shot, but it's just as weird as I remembered it from 10 years ago when I saw it for the first time, and I'm just like, there's so much going on here. And it's a weird anomaly at World's End because there are so many great moments in this film. There's really great sequences and set pieces, character moments, but overall it just doesn't seem to gel very well. It's a weird thing, this film, and I don't quite know, I can't put my finger on why it's not great, It is what it is. So then we went and watched Stranger Tides. Was it on Stranger Tides or something like that? The 4th film, which I'd never seen before. I used to have it on Blu-ray and I never watched it. So we watched that in Disney Plus, and it was honestly like one of the worst films I think I've ever seen. So I would never buy that abomination and add it to my collection. And as I happened to be in Poundland last week, I saw, funnily enough, Salazar's Revenge, the 5th and final film starring Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. We saw this in the cinema. I really enjoyed it. It felt more like the first film, just a fun adventure, kind of pulpy and kind of colourful, and it's the crazy, wacky villain. Got all the kind of, well, not all of them, but most of the old favourites back, like Barbossa, and some cameos there from older characters who weren't in the 4th film. This one has a fair amount of special features from the back, from what I can tell, but I know that they haven't done a 2-disc release of this. But with the original trilogy, they have 2-disc sets with all sorts of extras that aren't included in the multiple box sets. So for me, getting the individual releases is kind of the best way to go about it. But it's nice to now have the complete Pirates collection, and I will just forget that the 4th film ever happened because it's just so terrible. And I'm actually joking. I enjoyed the 4th one. I will buy it when it's really cheap. I'm sure I'll find it somewhere because I needed to complete the collection, but it's probably my least favorite, maybe, even though I think it's a better film than World's End, just because World's End is so bloated and, just strange. It's probably my least favorite, the 4th one. I don't know, it's just something about it doesn't quite, and I love Blackbeard. I think Ian McShane as Blackbeard was such a great character and performance, but yeah, it just didn't quite sit as well as the other ones. But I still think in general, you can't beat the first one, and now they've got like 3 new ones in the works. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, so there we go. That is my general Blu-ray update. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.